Hey everybody, this is Jennifer, and today I'm showing you how to make a different version of the tight herringbone braided effect ring. Before I showed you how to do it with 4mm beads, and this time this is for like someone who either wants a 3-stone effect, or if you have someone that has a smaller finger, this is a great option for that. And this goes along with the set that I've been working on, that I've made the earrings and the necklace for. So please hit the like button. That helps my channel out a great deal, and it helps YouTube to know to refer my videos to other people that are wanting to learn how to make jewelry. So please hit the subscribe button and click the bell notification button so you'll be notified of any future videos that I upload. I'm going to plan on uploading fairly frequently. I have a lot of pendants I'm going to be making coming up. So stay tuned for that. So I would love to hear from you and interact with you, so leave some comments down in the comment section down below. And in the description, I'll leave a list of all the materials that I use to make this ring. And I also list in the description all the tools that I use and that I love and that I've tested out. And there are links for all those, and you can get them on Amazon. So just keep watching for the tutorial. I hope you enjoy it, and I will see you in my next one. So just keep watching. Bye. Today I wanted to show you an alternative to the 4-bead tight herringbone braided effect ring that I did. And this goes along with that series of jewelry. And this is a good one for someone who has a little bit smaller finger. And if they have even smaller finger than a size 6, then you could do just 3-4mm beads. But I'm going to be using 2 4mm round amethyst beads and 1 6mm round rose quartz bead. And the wire I'm going to be working with today is Parawire in 20 gauge silver. I'm going to be using also Parawire in 24 gauge silver and 28 gauge Parawire in silver. And to start, I'm going to start by cutting a length of my 24 gauge wire. So I'm just going to straighten out a nice little length of wire here. And try to just get that bend out of there as much as possible, because I want it to be pretty straight. So now I'm just going to cut a piece that's 4 inches or so long. You won't need that much, but it's nice to have extra so you can do enough wraps at the end. So now I'm going to take my 28 gauge wire, and I'm just going to measure about 6 inches, and I want 4 pieces of that. So I'm just going to cut that and then measure out my other 3 pieces. So now I've cut my 4 pieces of wire of the 28 gauge, and they're about 6 inches long. So I'm just going to get those even down to each other where all the ends are at the same place. And I'm going to take my piece of 24 gauge wire, and I'm going to find what is going to be pretty much the center of these pieces of 28 gauge wire. And that looks about right. So now I'm just going to take this side, and I'm just going to wrap it all the way around until it comes back around like that. So this is the front part right there. And then this is your back part. And whatever side you start wrapping with is the side you're going to continue wrapping with for the entire piece. So now I'm going to start by putting on a 4mm amethyst bead. And then I'm just going to slide this on down here. And I'm going to start on the right side. You can start on the left side, but I always go for the right side because I'm right-handed. And I'm just going to straighten these wires again. And I want to make sure that these wires are laying flat against that bead. So I'm going to press my thumb against it. And I'm just wrapping back around really tight and really close to that bead. And so I'm going to do that with the other side. I'm just going to straighten these out. You want to make sure these are laying nice and flat to the bead. That's why I suggest putting your thumb over it, because you don't want these being twisted or laying on top of each other. But every time you wrap, you're going to come back around to the same side. So now I'm going to add my 6mm rose quartz bead. And I'm going to take this from the right side again. So I'm just going to wrap it around like that. So I just want to have it nice and close to the previous bead. So I'm just kind of pressing it down and against that bead there and making sure that wire stays nice and tight. And I'm going to tighten it down just a little bit more. There. That's better. And now I'm going to do the same thing with the left side. And I'm just going to take these wires, press them down with my thumb, and wrap them as tight as I can get to the bead. And those need to be opened up just a little bit like that. But I want to have it where you can still see the wire on the bead. And now I'm going to put on my last 4mm bead. And I'm just going to slide that down. So I'm just pressing this down into that rose quartz bead. And now I'm just going to take this and I'm going to lay it down on that amethyst bead and wrap it all the way around one time like normal. And now I'm just going to keep going around a second time just to really hold that bead in place. And now I'm just going to kind of pull up on my wires, and then I'm going to trim as close as I can get without trimming the wrong wires. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an open and closing motion with my pliers and just working the piece around in a circle. And I'm going to check it. And those wires laid down really nice. So now I just bent this set of wires around this bead, but I'm not going to go all the way around. I'm going to bring it back. And this will show me and give me a guide for laying down each piece of wire. And I'm going to start with laying down whichever piece would be the lowest down on the bead first. So I'm going to start with this one, and I'm going to wrap it as close as I can get to the bead, and I wrapped it a full time, and then I just went ahead and pulled it over to this other side. And so now I'm just going to go ahead and trim this. And I'm going to kind of move these out of the way. And I want to press that one single wire down. And each time that I do this, I'm going to feel it and make sure it feels smooth. So now I'm going to take the wire that would lay down next, right on top of it. And just do the same thing where I pull it all the way around and then pull it across. And then I'm just going to trim that down. And I'm just going to pinch that wire down and kind of twist it just gently. I don't want to mess my wires up underneath either. And I'm checking it, and it still feels a little bit rough, so I'm just going to gently press. And there, I feel something sticking up right in there. So I'm just going to gently press that in. And I found this is the easiest way to end this off and not have your wires underneath really disturbed too much. So I think this piece of wire is the one that's supposed to lay down next. And I'm just going to pull that around and pull it across. And then I'm just going to trim that. And I'm going to press this down. And I'm doing the opening and closing. I don't really want to do a twisting motion, but I want to make sure that wire lays down nicely. And I'm feeling a little bit of a scratchy wire, so I'm just pressing it in. And that feels better. Now I'm going to take this last piece of wire and I'm going to lay it on top. And I'm going to go around once and then pull it across. And I'm just going to trim that off. And now I'm going to press that end down and make sure it's smooth. And I'm just feeling it all the way around. And I want to kind of pull these wires up just a little bit onto the bead a little bit more so less of the bead is showing. So I'm just going to kind of do this and lift it. And I'm going to do that on the other side as well. And then this one I'm going to open up just a little bit. So I'm just going to take my nails and spread it a tiny bit. So now I'm going to see where this sits on my ring mandrel because I am making a size 6. So I'm going to take this at a size 6. And I want to see how far around this goes. And just kind of give this some shape to start. So that's where it's going to be right there. Okay, so now I'm going to take a piece of my 20 gauge wire. I'm just going to straighten it out. And then I'm going to cut a length that's going to be more than what I need, but I want to have that extra room to work. So now I'm going to take my round nose pliers and I'm going to just grasp it close to the end. I want to give myself enough of a loop that I can work with putting wire through it. And so I have it like that. Now to make sure this is straight, I'm going to put my round nose pliers back in and I'm just going to do a little backwards bend. And that gives you that bend. And that did open it up a little bit. So I'm just going to close that back up so it's flat. So now I'm just going to put this on the ring mandrel. And I'm going to put it on here kind of along with this. So I can see about where I'm going to want to cut. And I'm going to go a little bit smaller than a size 6 because I know it's going to stretch as I hammer it. So I'm going to try to cut it around right in here. And then I'll double check it. Because I know the band doesn't have to be real big, but I'll start a little bigger than what I think I need. So now I'm going to take my round nose pliers and I'm just going to do the same thing I did on the other side, and I'm just going to make that loop. And now I'm going to put my pliers in here, just do a little backwards bend, and then I'm just going to twist this and close it up. So now I want to have these, make sure they're laying flat. I'm going to put this on my ring mandrel and see where I'm at. I'm actually going to go to the 6 and see if I need to trim any wire off And it looks like I'm going to need to trim a little bit. So to adjust this a little bit, because I don't want to take much off, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go into this wrap right here, into this little turn, and I'm just going to trim from the inside like that. So now I'm just going to turn it back around, and then I'm going to put this back in here and put that backwards bend back into it, and then I'm going to close this back up. And that backwards bend just gives it, makes it look a little bit straighter, not so lopsided. Okay, and that's nice and closed up. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this back on my ring mandrel. And I just want to see how everything is laying. And that looks like it's probably going to work really well. So to get the shape going, I'm going to go ahead and hammer a little bit of this, and this will also work harden my band a little bit. Okay, so that just gave my band some strength, and it also gave it a nice shape. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this. I'm going to slide this wire into that hole. And then I'm just going to wrap this through. And I'm actually going to grab my Beadmith pliers because they're great for pulling wire through for rings like this. And I'm just going to do a few wraps to secure this to the band. And I want to go ahead and make sure this is pulled nice and tight up to the top, like that. And I'm going to do about 3 wraps. And now I'm going to push this back through for this last little part, and I'm just going to pull up on it. And I'm going to trim it over here on the side. I'm going to take my Beadmith pliers now, and I'm just going to take this wire and just kind of rotate it around and press, because I want to make sure that it gets nice and smooth. Okay, so now I'm going to put this on the other side, and this is going to make your wire of your band bend out a little bit, but we can shape it back up. I'm just going to slide this through here. And we'll straighten up the shape in just a minute. So I'm going to push that through there. And I'm just going to take my pliers and I'm just going to pull it up. I just want to make sure it's staying nice and close to the top, just like the other side. And if you see that your wraps aren't laying right next to each other, you can just take your pliers and pinch them together. Like those, I want them to lay just a little bit closer. So this is 3. And since this side has the 3 wraps just like that, I'm going to stop here. And I'm going to cut the wire right here just like I did on the other side. And I'm going to take my bent nose pliers. I'm just going to grab that little wire and I'm just going to twist around. And I'm just pressing that little wire down to flatten it out. And now what we're going to do is we're going to put this back on our ring mandrel. And we're going to see what size we have. And we're also going to give it some shape here. And that's not quite down to a size 6, so I'm going to hammer this band just a little bit, and I'm going to avoid the wraps. Okay, so now I'm going to check and see where my ring is. It's not quite to a 6 yet, so I'm just going to hammer some more. Okay, now I'm going to check the size again. And it's almost perfectly on a 6, not quite. Okay. And that is perfectly on a size 6 now. So that gave my band strength, the hammering did. So the band is a lot stiffer. So this is our finished ring. And if you see anything you want to just kind of twist on the beads or anything, you can. But I like the way it's sitting right now. And this is what we have for our finished ring. So this is our finished ring right here with the band. And I'm just double checking to make sure there's no sharp spots, and it feels good. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please hit the thumbs up button. That helps my channel out a lot, and it helps YouTube to know to recommend my videos to other jewelry makers. Please consider subscribing and hitting the bell icon so you'll be notified whenever I upload videos, and I plan to upload fairly frequently. If you don't mind doing that and just join the family, that would be awesome. And all the materials I use will be listed down in the description below, and all the tools that I use in general and have tested out and love are also listed and linked down in the description below, and they're all from Amazon, and so they're easily accessible. So please leave any questions or comments down below that you might have. I would love to hear from you and interact with you, and I don't get too many comments, and I would love to hear from you. So please do that, and I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Bye.